Sheetal Thakur.
Yes, sir. I'll be sharing. Sir, is my slide visible?
Yes. Yes.
A very good evening to the organizers, co-organizers, the chair and the co-chair, and my fellow participants from across the world. I am Dr. Sheetal Thakur. I'll be presenting my paper on transformation in agricultural technology in mountains, a study of Lahula tribe in Himachal Pradesh. Well, since time immemorial, agriculture has been the backbone of the mountainous economy, and Himachal Pradesh is no exception. Traditionally, in the state, most of the people have been associated either with agriculture or horticulture. Land in the hills has been, of course, one of the structural variables determining social status of an individual and the groups, and which constitutes significant dimension. The work is actually based on the primary study of Lahula tribe, and the study is based on the exploratory research design with an aim to explore the relationship between the use of agricultural technology and social transformation. And the main focus will be on the impact of the use of agro-technology on family, social, and cultural aspects of the respondents. Well, a number of respondents, that they were 243, were taken for the study and were randomly selected, who were available within the radius of 10-kilometer distance from the district headquarters. Well, agriculture, like said earlier, has been the backbone of the mountainous economy, especially of Himachal Pradesh. And again, the attempt is to study and analyze the agricultural structure, the new agro-technology in usage amongst the tribe, and the consequent changing culture and structure taking place, and the change in their economy and society as well. The rationale of carrying out such analysis is that majority of the respondents are engaged in agriculture and horticulture as their main occupation. However, since land ownership in the district is one of the, like I said earlier, is the structural variables which determines one's status, so of an individual and the group, so to say, the agricultural structure and agrarian relations to a considerable extent constituted by the land ownership. The significant dimension, the land owned by the respondents, is classified into different categories depending upon its use, the type of land, and the land size, and the crop production in the area. However, the primary focus again was to see the change that is actually was taking place due to the advent of the agro-technology or machines by the people. In addition to the said, another dimension refers to the complexities of occupational structure of the respondents of the given area, as most of them are into one occupation, that is agriculture, and each occupation, depending upon the rewards attached and prestige it commands, has its own social standing in the village social organization. Though in the absence of the standardized occupational prestige scale, it is rather difficult to develop a very comprehensive occupational hierarchy and social structure. Yet, by taking into account all the economic activities undertaken by them, a tentative profile, of course, can be developed. So the social structure, which primarily pertains to the nature and type of the patterned relationships between the members of a community, constitutes a very important dimension of primary sector of economy and the rural society at large. In India, so is Himachal Pradesh. There has been predominantly, it has been a rural society and continues to be so to a great extent. The early ethnographic and socio-anthropological and sociological studies, by and large, revolved around village studies, their culture and social organization. And if we look into some work, Osambi had laid down emphasis on the understanding of the transition from tribe to caste, from small localized groups to a generalized society. And as per him, this particular transition was largely the result of the introduction of plough agriculture, which changed the entire system of production, which also included the agrarian social system, its structure, and the interconnection between various categories of the agrarian classes depended on such economy. Bose also described that economic factor has been seen or is a source of both stability and change in social life, especially to the use of capital-intensive agriculture technology. And as he also believed that the best way of classifying the numerous tribal groups in India was not by language or by religion or race, but by the mode of their livelihood, that is the production system under which they actually lived. So it is also argued that the transition from tribe to caste, from small localized groups to a generalized society largely resulted due to the introduction of plough agriculture in various regions, which changed the system of production, broke the structure of tribes and clans and made them castes, the alternative form of social organization. This process, as per Kosambi, he traced in part from the evolution of clan totems into clan names and then into caste names. The agency through which, as per him, which plough agriculture was introduced, therefore became the major factor of control in the society. And so, as per Chandi as well, Chandi, he says that the rationale of developing new and efficient technologies is not only to bring about the just economic change, but also influence social structure, social institutions, the customs, the traditions, the beliefs and values and attitudes, etc. In fact, social, cultural, economic, and even political life can no longer be possible without technology. And again, if I talk about Mishra, who had argued that agricultural production with the use of improved farming techniques, genetically improved hybrid seeds, chemical fertilizers, and pesticides have actually helped in raising productivities of farms and brought about economic transformation in the village areas. And it was also found that to have increased with the advent of agrotechnology, it was found that the mechanized farming seems to have increased the social activities of the people as compared to the people of those villages where new technology has made a little road. So when it is also believed that when modernity enters any rural setup or rural areas, along with the introduction of new tools and techniques, the living standards of the people, of course, goes up. Is likely to go up. However, along with the changes seen not only in technological and economic sphere, but also the changes are evidently visible in social and their psychological and cultural life as well, wherein it is observed that their participation in their social and cultural life has gone up in comparison to what was in the past before the advent of the agro technology. And especially in respect of the community, the tribe that is in Lahul, since the primary occupation, like I said earlier, is agriculture, as you can see in the picture, the land itself being part of the life of the people, there is hardly any family without a piece of land. Under the most prevalent joint family system, some of the family members remain into agriculture while others engage in them. A few others engage themselves in some business or seek employment, government or private services. Occupation-wise, people are not confined to one but different type of economic activities. Nevertheless, farming, of course, has been the backbone, and the type of terrain, the altitude of the valley, the shortage of rainfall and the excessive snowfall makes the life very tough indeed. Sorry, the question of mere survival forces these people to extreme hard work, up to 16 hours a day, no matter how rich or poor one may be, young or old they may be. Nature has forced them to be diligent and punctual, as laziness and delay can prove fatal. An untimely snowfall can actually sweep away a whole year's effort in a few hours. When the farm work is not possible, they spin, they weave, they socialize. However, that as per the respondents, before the advent of technology, the weaving, the spinning, and the socializing was minimalistic. And every household is self-sufficient for managing organic manure for their agriculture, horticulture fields, bulls to plow, milch their cattle for milk. Thus, they produce most of the items needed for their day-to-day living. However, The self-sufficiency fitting their traditional way of life is changing fast due to the process of modernization, which has its entry in the area. According to the Census of India, 2001, 4,067 Lahulas are into farming as cultivators. Amongst them were men were 1,709 and women were 2,358 in number. However, with the data, we can actually see or observe that there were actually more women cultivators than men in the area. And the data in accordance with the religion, with the land and labor, reveal that in the past, the contribution of the family, as you can see in one of the pictures, the entire family was more into the fieldwork, wherein the joint family system prevailed, again considered as the backbone of the land and the relationship as such. Thus, all the members of the family used to be available to work in the fields. However, at present, little more than 1/3 of the respondents hired labor to work in the fields. The rest continued to depend on their family and hired limited labor. So this may be noted that the period of work on land being limited, like I said earlier, was just 6 months in a year. The remaining 6 months were covered in snow. So the respondents tend to involve all possible affordable agencies on their farms to have a maximum productivity on which they depend for rest of the year. So these are, you can see one of the pictures here. We can imagine the kind of geographical conditions that they have, the altitude. It's sort of a hard life there, and the traditional farming by hand is seen. They're all into it. So yeah. Now further, if talked about the religious ceremonies related to agriculture, as for the people, traditional religious practices had an influence on agriculture. As per them, overall, the people engaged in their traditional religion in whatever they do, whether it is to be with farming alone. The people believe that drought, poor harvest, or famine were evidences that the gods were inattentive to their needs because of man's disobedience to the norms. Their worldview holds that drought, famine, and strong winds, which negatively affect agriculture, result from the unseen, irrational forces. Thus, the Lahulas, the community, designed certain rituals for the fertility as well as planting and harvesting. And as you can see in the picture itself, it is one of the religious ceremonies performed by their religious head, often called as the gur in their local terminology, wherein they are trying to offer their first yield to the deity. And it was observed that the religious ceremonies related to agriculture was performed by majority, which include performance of various rituals in the field, followed by offering food and drinks to the god, especially before sowing or before harvesting, ensuring that the seeds which have turned into sprouts may grow and yield maximum produce for the years to come. And as you can see in one of these pictures, on the left side is an incense herb, which is considered very sacred by the community, often called as shur in their local terminology, and is used during such ceremonies. And on the right side, you can see the season's first yield. It's how they offer their first yield to their local deity or to the God as per them. And if we talk about the social and cultural life of the people, you can see on the left, women are dressed to welcome guests, and they're covered in their local ornaments and decorated themselves. However, that's the social life that they believe that there is a rise in social activities by them by the advent of agrotechnology, because the participation of laborers, the family, has been come down because of the machine. And on the right side, you can see the people, the men are into celebrating their local festival, which is actually taking place during the winters and is called as Halda. Now, since machines, it is believed that whenever new technology is introduced, the previous technology comes under pressure, and or any process comes under pressure, and replacement starts taking place. And same in the area, most of the respondents in the past relied on the use of local farming techniques and local available manures, or organic fertilizers, the use of which actually, as per them, has come down at present. And with the use of machines and new tools and technology, techniques and better yields, the production for market had actually, as per them, taken off, giving further boost to their economic conditions of the people. That, according to the respondents, had happened to the better use of new technique and having higher economic returns, which are now used by, again, for better education and health services or better lifestyle or more living standards. The picture itself says the youth there is into using the machine used called as tiller into the in their farming. And again, new machines have been used. You can see in the backdrop on the left image that the women are actually not working. I mean, they're just having a look. Earlier, it was considered that the participation of the women, as per the census of India, that the participation of women was more in comparison to men. But with the advent of technology, you can see in the right side, men are learning to use these new technology, again, which has made their life a little easier. So now coming to the status or the conditions of women, the women share major responsibilities in the agricultural setup, or if we say in the agricultural production. In addition, as the case everywhere, they have to manage household chores, which is a stupendous task indeed. This is due to the fact that in the traditional societies which lacked market system, the business of everyday living is usually carried out on the basis of gender division of labor. In the study area too, the gender-based division of labor earlier was mainly between herding and agriculture, crafts, house building, water mills, etc. However, the boundaries between the men's and women's work were not clearly marked then. The overall, rather I would say the overlapping between the men's and the women's is often visible, indicating possible change in today's scenario. Major portion of work on the agriculture field when once was done by the women, such as weeding, hoeing, planting, harvesting, thrashing, plowing, which was the only work that was done by men, whether the fields are adjacent to the houses or the far off. The other activities of women include looking after the household chores, such as food processing, cooking, cattle rearing, taking them for water, managing fuel, water and fodder. So their involvement in activities away from home and the village provides them opportunities to interact with everyone today. In comparison to the past, resultantly, there is considerable communication among women and men, indicative not only of permissive culture, but also of gender equality. So regarding women's participation in agriculture, it was also found that Lahore has experienced a decline of in their involvement and their participation in such operations in comparison to men. But with the advent of technology, again, their role has declined. Yes, sir. Yes.
The conclusion, please.
Okay, so fine. So again, you can see one of the pictures here that people have started more to participate in the fairs and festival that is locally arranged. And then I'll come down to the conclusion that joint family system, however, has been the backbone, and it was a need to engage all the family members to agriculture-related operations. So with the introduction of these technology in agriculture, this relationship has undergone many changes. And on the basis of study, we can find out that the religious ceremonies performed during agricultural activities were high. Increased use of technology led to decrease in the labor participation of women in agriculture operation. Again, there is a decrease in cultural life, family life, social values, of course, have been changed with the introduction of new technology. And again, as said earlier, the replacement starts taking place, the roles starts taking place. So it was viewed that the increasing use of high level of agro technology led to the decrease in their roles, and wherein women started to share an equal status with that of the men. And lastly, the crop productivity of the farmers using technologies was fairly high, and changing conditions in social cultural life also revealed that the majority of the respondents indicated an increased involvement. And yes, their participation in social and cultural life again has had an increase by everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pratigya Silva,